Dying Light the Beast is right around the corner, and what better way to talk about the story than to tell the story of the hero of Harran, Cal Crane. Hey everyone, my name is Volatile, and welcome to the story recap of the man who saved Harran. The story of Dying Light 1 begins with a plain opening scene showing a GRE operative known as Cal Crane, who was hired by the GRE to find a top secret file that was stolen by a man named Kadir Suleiman, who is a former politician who went rogue after losing his brother in Harran during the quarantine. As Cal parachutes into the quarantine zone, he is soon mistaken for an airdrop and attacked by thugs. He ends up holding himself off, and he manages to kill one of them, which in return, the loud gunshot attracted virals towards him and in turn bit him and infected him. He was saved by two people who are from the tower, Amir and Jade. In a dire attempt to escape, they are overrun by virals, and Amir sacrifices his life to keep both Jade and Crane alive. The screen cuts to black, and 3 days pass since the events. Crane wakes up in a new environment, the tower, a safe haven for survivors of Harran. He is then later met by a man that informs him that he needs to meet a character named as Rahim. He tasks Crane to help earn his keep by going after a stuck survivor on a lower floor. Amidst during the task, he contacts the GRE, who then inform him to take measures into blending in and make him aware of the file's priority. He rescues the survivor and is then asked to meet Rahim on the floor to prove himself to be a runner, or better known as a scout. Rahim shows him a parkour training course that he soon proves to be useful and completes it with ease. He is then asked to go to a safe zone nearby to retrieve Anazin for his infection. Here he also meets Spike, who's another character who tasks him to aid the tower's leader, Brecken, and a few scouts on a night mission for supplies. Crane ends up setting up all the traps and heading back to a nearby safe zone. After hearing of the aftermath, Spike informs Crane to head back to the tower for a meeting. You can also see the events of the mission through the Runway Run trailer that they did. Before going to the meeting, you contact the GRE and they want you to identify who Brecken is, and upon entering and meeting Brecken, Crane offers a proposal to get supplies himself through the airdrops that are scheduled later that evening. Upon finding none at the first airdrop, 2 more land and he heads after them. And as dark is falling, Jane warns Crane to get back to safety, but he ends up being persistent and continues with his journey. He ends up finding a crate of Anazin, but then he contacts the GRE, which they then proceed to tell him to destroy it and force an interaction with another warlord known as Rice. He does that and he barely survives the night. After having no other option, Crane decides to take the role to go to Rise himself, and which Brecken warns Crane to come back in one piece. When arriving, we get a chilling introduction of the man responsible for all the fear of Harran. It's without a doubt that this man is the man we're looking for. We end up being tasked to restore a signal with the radio tower, and once returning, he doesn't end up getting answers in and is instead given more tasks. This time he has been asked to do some debt collecting of nearby survivor settlements, and it is something he does reluctantly, even having to threaten some of the survivors. Brecken calls Crane in desperation to let him know of an outbreak that happened on the 18th floor, and Crane returns to Rise only to end up receiving a very small portion of what was promised. Rise promises to give him more if he were to hand over Jade. Once returning to the tower, you find out about the losses, including some children who died. Brecken then informs Crane about the Antizen drops being stopped, and Crane heads to the roof to contact the jury about the Antizen drops and ends up finding a drunk Rahim who talks about a plan to blow up a volatile nest. Crane contacts the jury after Rahim goes inside, and
this is Crane, do you copy?
What do you want, Crane?
I want you to start the Antizen drops again, at least near the tower. These people need help.
We put you in Harran to find our file, not to play Mother Teresa. Or does this mean you've reconsidered Rise's proposal? Perhaps Miss Aldemir would even be willing to cooperate, test her skills in a new environment.
You start giving us some Antizen and then we'll talk about what Rise wants.
Oh, it's us now, is it? Well, I'm afraid your request is out of the question in any case. Things have gotten a bit strained with the Ministry. Resuming the airdrops would not be politically advantageous at the moment.
You assholes take the fucking cake, you know that? You and your fucking file. Look, I'll locate the file for you, but I'm gonna take a good long look at it before I decide what to do about it.
Jade then contacts Crane about a supply dump Rise is using in hopes to get Anazin, and the two head over there to steal Anazin together. Once inside, Crane appears to trip alarm and forces his way through the building. Once in the basement, Jade and him don't find Anderson, but they find explosives, and Jade begs Crane to keep these away from him, and he promises. You are then tasked to go after a bolter for research purposes, and only after once completing this, you find out that Rahim and Omar went to destroy the nest. Things went south, and you find Omar's body on the overpass amidst the tensions. You go to the train yard after telling Rahim to head there to safety. You end up finding him wounded while having the bomb rigged, unaware that he was bit. You end up being forced to blow up the nest, and once succeeding in doing so, Rahim's communication drops. One of the most emotional parts of the game occur as you find Rahim dead. You inform Bracken of it and have exited the tower to explain, and whilst explaining, Jade hears the news of her brother's death. It's now during these high tensions that Rise ends up attacking Zara's trailer the following night too, and he ends up kidnapping him and killing everyone on the spot. You end up heading after Rise, and you make your way through his compound only to find Zara and be captured too. Rise makes you fight through his pit, and once completing so, he publishes a file which you were after, and Crane responds very angrily.
Bassam, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Publish the file.
Right away, sir. And there. Easy, sir.
You just doomed thousands of innocent people! That's what you get with your fucking chaos!
You don't know what was on that file, do you, Crane? You only prove my point for me. The GRE plans to weaponize the virus, not cure it. They're only interested in profit, not saving lives. And by following their rules, you have become their trained monkey. Pathetic. All right. Kill him.
Come on, let's get you out of here.
Crane, save these people. They don't deserve all of this.
Rise ends up mocking him and informing him that GRE never wanted to cure the virus but only to weaponize and profit off of it. And out of a fit of anger, Crane kills his men and chops off his arm in a dire attempt to save Zara and escape his compound. Zara unfortunately dies, and he begs Crane to help the people of Harran. Crane desperately escapes his compound and is on the run and ends up passing out right before Bracken ends up saving him. Upon waking up, Bracken guides him to a group called the Saviors in an attempt to get the research from Jade. It is during this that Crane gets betrayed by the Saviors and barely survives the ambush right after. Crane warns Bracken, and this is the very last time we ever hear them speak directly. Crane works with an individual called Troy who assists helping Crane fight Jade, and after trying to get the public attention of survivors still being trapped in Harran, the jury ends up blowing up the building, and then Jade contacts Crane. They end up meeting, but only for Crane to find her kidnapped by Rise, and after finding his way to a museum that was mentioned, Crane is met with the news of Jade being bit, with Rise forcing him to make a choice to save his or her life. Ultimately, his choice is made for him, and Jade gives him the antidote to prevent him from turning. Jade ends up turning into a viral as Rise mocks him, and emotional, Crane has to unfortunately kill her. Tahir is then later sent after us, and in a fit of rage, we survive and end up killing him right after Jade's death. As the jury plans to carpet bomb Harran, Crane makes his way to a radio tower in dire need to contact the outside world to stop it. Upon making it at the very last minute, Crane contacts the outside world and lets them know there are people still alive, preventing a carpet bomb. Right after this mission, Crane gets tasked to meet Camden afterwards, who we then reach and give the little bit of research we have from Zara. In a final fit, Crane makes a decision to tell the jury everything, only to hear that Rise lets Crane know he is leaving, but he ends up mocking him and insisting that he comes after him. After making his way through Rise's compound and through his volatile nest, he makes it to the top, and they have a brutal fight in which the end costed Rise's his life, and Crane makes a decision to cut the ties with the jury and stay with the people of Harran. After the events of Dying Light 1, Harran is still under quarantine and the virus continues to spread, and amidst this, the jury is still silent. But Crane receives word of something unusual, that survivors outside the city walls appear to be immune. Following this lead, he leaves Harran and arrives in a remote countryside region cut off from the outside world. Almost immediately, he's pulled into a local mystery involving a cult known as the Children of the Sun. They claim their immunity comes from a following figure called the Mother, and from regularly consuming ritual elixirs. And within doing these tasks, Crane is met with more people who share stories of how the Mother has gifted them the ability to be immune to the virus, and he grows more convinced as time moves on. Upon gaining the trust of the locals and being reached out to by the members of the Sun, Crane is then invited to a ceremony to meet the Mother, who we then see present a blue mist-like substance that seemingly makes people in it immune. The acolytes contact Crane, asking him to meet at Jasir's farm, where they then tell him that the blue mist is a temporary solution and that they're running out of it. He asks Crane to assist finding 3 missing acolyte members that disappeared after heading to a cave for more of it. And on the way to the cave, once arriving to the cave, Crane spots 2 dead acolyte members, including a member from Rise's gang. Once Crane is done assessing the situation, he radios the acolyte member, informing him of the situation and warning them of Rise's men. Upon exiting the cave, Crane is informed of Rise's men being spotted at a granary, which is likely where the last acolyte member and the elixirs are at. On arriving at the granary, a fight breaks out, forcing Crane to fight his way through the granary and to reach the captive acolyte member. Upon reaching to the member that has been held captive, with his dying breath, he informs Crane to head to the lighthouse, and doing so, Crane heads to the lighthouse where he finds Khan there, who's taken leadership over Rise's thugs. Upon hearing that the bandits want to attack the Mother at the dam, Crane intends to kill Khan and arrogantly tells his members to watch from the balcony, and in return they fire away at the lighthouse, and which ends up destroying and killing Khan in the process. Having to forcefully defend himself, Crane secures the area and the vials. He then proceeds to rush to the dam to save the Mother, and it's where he finds the remains of the aftermath of the fight that went on at the dam, including Rise's men and the remaining acolyte members. The Mother telepathically talks to Crane through his mind, informing him that she is the wife of the colonel that came to Harran and became a spiritual leader of the people of the Sun. As Crane gets closer to her, she removes her mask, revealing that she is a sentient volatile, telling Crane that the blue serum isn't a cure but is actually changing him into what she has become. Explaining that this is why the infected see Crane and the members invisible, stating that drinking the liquid makes the mutation happen much faster. Upon being given the choice to destroy Harran with a nuclear warhead or reject her offer and take the vials back, Crane ultimately chooses to take the vials and thus sparks a confrontation of the Mother, forcing the blue serum down Crane's throat. And once preparing to fight her, Crane starts to hallucinate the Mother in multiple forms, and something starts to change with him. He drops his weapons and he starts using his hands as claws, and once defeating all the hallucinations, the real Mother appears and starts to fight Crane. With the little time Crane has, he ends up defeating her, and so much as it goes that this seals the fate of Cal Crane. Cal turns into a sentient volatile and slowly infects the outside regions with the virus too. It is, however, unfortunate to mention that this story does still remain a mystery, but with Dying Light the Beast around the corner, we do have now noticed that Kyle is very much alive, and somehow the experiments that have been done to him by the Baron have basically made him a human again. Thank you guys so much for watching this recap, and let me know down below what you guys thought about it, and for more Dying Light content, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys